In this video, let's talk about basic geometric operations, meaning move, copy, rotate, and scale. So let's draw a point to start with. Search XYZ and construct a point. And let's move to another point other than the origin point. So 3, 3. And if I want to move this point along x-axis, I can use the move component. So the move component takes two input parameters. G is the geometry to move. T is the motion, which is the direction you want to move. So we'll put this point as the geometry, move along x-axis. So search x, and you get this unit x. That would effectively move the point 1 unit along x-axis. If you want to move further away, you can set the factor to, for example, let's say 15. Then you can move it along the length you want along x-axis. So what about copy? In Grasshopper, there's no component called a copy because when you move a point, the original point is kept inside this battery, and the new point, which you moved along the x-axis, is kept inside this component. So you have both points. Effectively, the move component just performed a copy. Now we can make a line out of these 2 points, the original point to the new point. So that's the line between the 2 points. We can rotate or scale this line. So let's try rotate first. Let's use this. Rotate takes 3 input parameters. The first one is geometry, and the angle of rotation, and the plane of rotation by default is XY plane. Let's connect the line to geometry, and let's rotate the line to, by default, is 0.5 pi, which is 90 degrees. So you can see that there is a line here, rotated 90 degrees along this plane. If you want to rotate at different degrees, you can set to, for example, 0 to 180 degrees. I have slider from 0 to 180. If I plug this into the angle, you can rotate to different angles. But what you can see, that 0 to 180 is not in degrees, rather in radian. So to change it to radian, we need to use a radian battery, convert the degree value into radian because the rotate panel takes radian as default input. Now, if you drag the slider, you can see that it rotates from 0 to 180 degrees, like that. Alternatively, what I prefer is connect the slider to angle input, right-click on this angle, and set that to degrees. In this case, the slider represents a value in degrees instead of a radian. One more thing we might want to improve sometimes, instead of rotating along the origin point, maybe you want to rotate along the start point. In that case, you can just set the start point as the plane of rotation. Now, when you rotate the line, it rotates along the start point from 0 to 180 degrees. We can also scale this line to make it larger or smaller. So let's scale and use the scale. Scale also takes 3 input parameters: geometry, center of the scale, and scaling factor. We're going to use this line as the geometry. And scaling factor, let's use a slider from 0.1 to 2.0. Now we can see that it is scaled toward the origin point. If what you want is scaling toward the starting point, we can do the same thing and plug in the start point as the center of scale. Now you can see that it's a scaling based on the starting point by the factor.